Assalamualaikum, my name is Binti Misnari, my metric number is 296140 and I would like to present about first step, which is receiving. The first ingredient that we receive is raw ingredient such as Teow, chicken, shrimp, squid and also fish ball. The potential hazard for this raw ingredient is contamination and spoilage. Inspecting chicken for proper temperature or contamination is the control measure of this ingredient. Teow also must be received in a room temperature to avoid contamination. Making sure there are no signs of rodent infestation on delivery boxes is a control point of this raw ingredient, and the critical control point is refrigerate the Teow and consume on 1 or 2 days and keep it chilled from 0 to 4 Celsius. The chicken and shrimp must be refrigerated at the correct temperature from 7 Celsius or lower. And for the squid, it must be refrigerated at 4 Celsius. If the Teow and raw ingredient not kept in a proper temperature, discard or return to the supplier. The second one is receiving egg, which have potential in spoilage. To avoid spoilage, egg must be kept at 7 Celsius or less, making sure there are no broke egg is the control point, and if the egg not in a good condition, return them to the supplier. Next is receiving vegetable such as carrot, cauliflower, mustard leaf, chili, garlic and onion. To avoid spoilage on the vegetable, they should be checked for ripeness, freshness and other sign of quality control point. For vegetable is to make sure the delivery boxes in a good condition, and the critical control point is to refrigerate vegetable with storage. If the vegetables not in a good condition, return them to the supplier. Last but not least is receiving other ingredients such as chicken, seasoning powder, cornstarch, pepper powder, salt and fried shallot. Checking expiration on the label and spoilage of the ingredient is important, and make sure there are no sign of rodent infestation. Store on delivery. If there are ingredients expired, return to the supplier or discard them. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Amira binti Maskan and metric number 29620. I will talk about storage step. First ingredient, store raw ingredient. Teow, chicken, shrimp, squid and fish ball. Potential hazard, contamination and spoilage. Control measure, refresh raw meat properly. Use Sprite container to prevent cross contamination. Follow proper hygiene practice. Critical control point, to store the raw meat at the cool temperature. Separate raw meat from other ingredients in the fridge to prevent cross-contamination. Ensure proper hygiene during handling. Correction action, check the packaging plastic Teow and expiry date immediately and check its freshness. Second, store age. Potential hazard, spoilage. Control measure, refrigerate it properly to slow bacterial growth. Keep them in the original carton to maintaining freshness. Critical control point, store it at the constant temperature below 20 Celsius. Refresh properly to prevent bacterial growth and regularly check it for freshness. Correction action, discard the expired egg and ensure timely refreshment. Implement a rotating system. Next, store vegetable. Carrot, cauliflower, young corn, mustard leaf, tomato, chilies, garlic and onion. Potential hazard, spoilage. Control measure, refresh vegetable properly. Store in the scrap truck to maintain freshness. Use a tight container for sliced vegetable. Control critical control point, refresh sliced vegetable to maintain freshness. Correction action, if the vegetable not in a good condition, remove overripe one store optimum temperature, regular check and rotate stock. Last, store other ingredients such as chicken seasoning powder, cornstarch, pepper powder, salt, and fish salt. Potential hazard, expiry date, and spoilage. Control measure, keep in a cool, dry place away from direct sunlight. Ensure the container is tight, sealed to prevent clumping. Control point, store in a cool, dry place away from direct sunlight. Ensure the container is tight. Fresh salt in Sprite airtight container to maintain crispness and prevent spoilage. Correction action, check the expiry date of content, full remove flop and transfer to the alternative dry container if essential. Store fresh salt in a airtight container. Discard if quality is compromised. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and a very good day. My name is Radha binti Saparuddin, matrix number 285892. So today I'm going to talk about the preparation stage in the HACCP flow. So the first ingredient is to prepare the Teow and also the eggs. The potential hazard that might be happen is the growth of bacteria and also spoilage. And the control measure that can be taken is to sanitize utensils before use, create preparation in less than 4 hours to minimize the growth of microorganisms. Check the ingredients before start to cook and also check the expiry date on the packet of Teow and also the egg. The control point for the ingredient is to wash the eggs thoroughly to ensure that no more dirt or cracks on the egg. And the corrective action that can be taken if the standards are not met is to making sure that each utensil was clean, and if not, go wash it before use. And if the preparation exceeds 4 hours, the ingredient that have been prepared should be discarded because it has been too long in the preparation danger zone. Rewash the egg or discard it if it's already cracked or damaged. And lastly, if the ingredient has expired, they need to be thrown away. So next ingredients is to preparing the raw ingredients, which is the fish ball, chicken, shrimp and squid. The potential hazard that might happen is contamination and spoilage, and the control measure that should be taken is to make sure all ingredients are in a good condition, and thawing ingredients should be done in the refrigerator or microwave them before immediately cooking it. The CP for the ingredient is to use a separate cutting board for the raw food, and the CCP is frozen food should be kept solidly frozen until they are ready to be used. And the corrective action is if the ingredients give unpleasant odor, then discard them. The next one is preparing the vegetable. That should be cut or slice the vegetable into small pieces. The vegetables that I use in the preparing stage is carrot, cauliflower, young corn, mustard leaf, tomato, chilies, garlic and onion. The potential hazard is cross-contamination, and the control measure is to wash the vegetable cleanly. Cutting board and knife should be cleaned before use to avoid cross-contamination and to make sure all vegetables are in a good and fresh condition. The control point for the vegetables is to check the cleanliness and freshness of the vegetables by visual inspection. And the corrective action is to thoroughly wash the vegetables and remove all visible dirt. Use separate utensil or wash the cutting board and knife properly before using it. And lastly, discard the vegetables if they are already spoiled and replace them with the fresh one. Lastly is to preparing the other ingredients, which is the chicken seasoning powder, cornstarch, pepper powder, salt and fried shallot. The potential hazard is contamination, and the control measure is to check the expiry date on the label of each item before using it to cook the food. The control point is to be carefully handling and proper control measure needed. And the corrective action for this ingredient is to discard the item if it's already expired or spoiled. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is binti matric number 296249, and I'll be present about cooking stage. So the first one is the ingredient, Teow and the sliced chicken. The potential hazard for these two is contamination and spoilage. For the control measure, we check the temperature. And for the Teow, make sure it's drained before cook. And for the sliced chicken, make sure it clean and cook chicken to a safe temperature to eliminate harmful bacteria. So for the CCP, make sure that the temperature is 74 degrees Celsius. For the corrective action, if the kuey tiaw and the chicken is spoiled, we need to discard them. Next is shrimp and squid. For the potential hazard, contamination and spoilage. So control measure, check the temperature. For the CP, make sure the shrimp and squid are clean before we put in the pot. We need to make sure that the temperature for the shrimp and squid is 63 degrees Celsius. So for the corrective action, if the shrimp and squid is not kept at a proper temperature, not cooked in the proper temperature, we need to discard them. So same goes to the fishball. The potential hazard is contamination and spoilage. Check the temperature and make sure the fishball is clean before we put in the pot also. And allow the fishball to cook for about 3 to 5 minutes or until they float to the surface. If the fishball is also not kept in the right temperature or cooked in the right temperature, we need to discard them. So the next ingredient is egg. Potential hazard, spoilage, control measure, we need to check the temperature. And for the CP, before we put the egg in the pot, we need to make sure it's clean. So for the temperature, we have to make sure that the temperature for the egg is 71 degrees Celsius. So for the corrective action, if the egg are spoiled, we need to discard them and use the fresh egg instead. So for the vegetable, the potential hazard is spoilage. For the control measure, we need to check there are no signs of spoiled vegetable. So for the vegetable, for the control point, make sure the vegetable are clean and in a good condition before we put in the pot. For the onion, we have to make sure it is in the right temperature. So for the CCP, for the garlic, heat the oil in a pot over medium low to medium heat. Aim for a temperature around 135 degrees Celsius to 163 degrees Celsius. So for the onion, 140 degrees Celsius. So for the corrective action, if the vegetable are spoiled, we need to discard them and cook the fresh instead. For the onion, if the onion are spoiled, we cannot use it to prevent the food tastes are different. Next is others ingredient. Potential hazard, expiration date and spoilage. Control measure, check their expired date. For the CP, make sure is no damage of the ingredient and use a clean utensil before you put in the pot. For the next, avoid using wet or dirty measuring tools as moisture can affect the texture of cornstarch. Corrective action, if the other ingredients are expired or not clean, we need to discard and cannot use it anymore. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you for your explanation. So I will continue with the final step of HACCP, which is serving the kuey tiaw curve. For the potential hazard could be happen in this step is contamination and spoilage. First, biological hazard will come from the bacteria, viruses and parasites. For example, if the food is not reheated repeatedly, this bacteria will exist in the food. Second is chemical hazard. It refers to the presence of harmful substances in food that can pose to risk to human health. There are two types of it, which is naturally occurring allergens and man-made chemical like pesticide, food additive. And the third is physical hazard, and it usually results from various sources during food handling, processing or preparation. For example, foreign objects like hair, glass, metal particle, plastic pieces. Next, for the control measure, first is the hot holding. Hot food should be kept at a temperature of 140 Fahrenheit or 60 Celsius or higher. Use hot holding equipment such as steam tables, warming tray or chafing dishes to maintain the temperature. Next is the time limits. The hot food in the temperature danger zone should not exceed more than 2 hours. And hygiene should take seriously because the third is the hygiene. The food server must maintain personal hygiene so that the cross-contamination can be avoided. Next, for the serving part, it is critical control point, CCP, because it is already cooked. So it must be handled by hot holding, and the hot holding food must 60 Celsius or higher. So if the CCP is not met, the food should be reheated or should be cooked again before serve it to the customer, so that we can serve in the hygienic way to our customer, and customer should be satisfied with our services. I think that's all from our group about the HACCP flow in the preparing dish, which is Kuey Teow. Thank you.